Hi, well, we're working in a period at the moment of restricted activity due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I thought it might be a good opportunity just to answer a question that I'm often asked in terms of what equipment I use as a landscape photographer. So I thought what we would do is go through the bag and I will share with you what I'm using at the moment. So let's have a look in the bag, shall we? So let's open the bag and see what we've got inside. Well, the first thing I'll show you is my camera. And I'm using a Nikon D3X, which is a full frame 24 megapixel camera. I find it a great workhorse. It's a superb camera. It also gives me the option to shoot in 5:4 aspect ratio. And I find that that is a really useful addition, and it's a facility that I do often use. The lens I've got attached to the camera is my workhorse lens. It's one that I use most often. It's a Nikon 24-70mm lens, yeah, the optics on this are just tremendous. You'll see on here I have a little filter holder, and that's for the leaf filter attachment system, and I'll show you that in a few moments' time. But that sits on the front of the lens at all times. And I do have on behind that a skylight filter, and I do recommend the use of skylight filters because they will protect your lens in the event of a scratch or in the event of a drop. I'd much rather replace a skylight filter than have to replace my whole lens. So that's the camera I'm using. It's a Nikon D3X. I've had it for quite a few years now, but I don't really see the need to change it just yet because it's achieving what I'm wanting to achieve. Another wide-angle lens I have in the camera bag is this one here. Now this is, again, it's a Nikon lens. This one is a 14-24mm lens, and this has got a really wide angle on the top here. As you can see, it's got a bit of a fisheye on the lens itself, and this has a different filter system to fit on here because, as you can see, it's a much wider barrel. So the standard filter system that I use is a 15:10, and this lens takes the 15:15 filters. But I'll show you those in a moment. Next in the bag we have a prime wide-angle lens. This is a 20mm wide-angle lens. It's a Nikon, again Nikon, and it's a superb lens. Not a lot more to say about that really. Again, I've got the filter holder on the front. One more lens I carry in the bag. Now sometimes, depending on where I'm going, I don't take all of my lenses at once because the bag does get pretty heavy. There are times when I do take them all, particularly if I'm going to a new location and I'm not sure what I'm going to need, because chances are if I leave one lens at home, it's going to be the lens I wish I'd got with me at the time. But if I'm going to a location I'm familiar with, I know roughly the shot that I want to capture, and I'll go with that equipment and leave the other stuff behind, because as I say, it does get pretty heavy. This is a telephoto lens. This is an 80-200 Nikon lens. It's a 2.8 aperture, and again it's got the leaf filter holder on the front and a skylight filter fitted to the front of the lens. This is a very heavy glass lens. I actually bought this one second hand because they're very expensive to purchase new. But the quality of the optics is spot on, and I've been very happy with that. In fact, you'd be pushed to tell that it wasn't shot, a photograph wasn't shot with a prime lens taken through this lens. And then we've got this is a lens hood, and that pops onto the front of my lens, Just clips on with a simple attachment there, and that obviously shades the front of the lens from any side lighting that's coming into the camera lens, and that gives me a much clearer, crisper image. So that's the lens hood. And I'll do a video series on how to use filters correctly, how to use lens hoods at a later stage. This is just a quick whistle-stop tour of what's in my camera bag. So as you've probably guessed by now, having seen the lens hood, having heard me talk about the use of Lee filters, in here I have a whole range of filters. And in particular, I've got a whole range of neutral density filters. So this is a set of soft neutral density filters, and part of the set, this is a 0.9. I've got the 0.3, the 0.6, the 0.9 soft neutral density set, and then I've got the hard neutral density set as well. Again, the same numbers apply. But I'll give you a kind of a lowdown on how to use those and what the difference is between the soft and the hard filters in a future tutorial. So those are my Lee filters. Then we've got a circular polarizer, and I love these. They really enhance the image, take away a lot of the haze, take away the refracted light from water, and cut down any glare. They really bring out the colours in the sky as well. So this screws onto the front of a filter holder. In fact, I'll show you what it screws onto. This is another filter holder. Again, it attaches to the front of the lens, and then this polarizer literally screws onto the front of my holder. Just like so. So that is again a quick filter holder. That will also take two of the slide-in filters that I showed you in the wallet earlier. It's really important to try and keep your lenses and your filters as clean as possible, because any smears obviously will affect the quality of the optics of the lens, and ultimately could show on your photograph. This is a landscape polarizer, so the one I've just shown you is a generic polarizer. This is particularly for the tones and the hues and colours that you'll experience in autumn, and it's a thinner filter compared with the one I've just shown you, and the reason it's thinner is that it will fit better on a wide-angle lens, and because the frame is thinner, you won't see it in the photograph, and so having a thin frame will avoid vignetting in the image. And vignetting with wide-angle lenses is a bit of a bane, isn't it? Most photographers will struggle with vignetting from time to time when they're using ultra-wide lenses, and they don't want their filters and filter holders to be seen in the image. A lens blower is always essential for bits and specks out in the field, just to keep the lens clean, as I was saying earlier. So that's always in the bag. Then I have a loop. I don't know if you've used a loop before. I know many of you will do. This loop is really useful. It's a 3x magnification loop made by Hoodman, and literally this will fit over the back of the monitor on your camera. And then it's in essence like the olden days when photographers would throw a big black cloth over the back of their camera so they could see what they were doing in daylight. You've actually got a black shielded area once this is over your monitor, and then you would look through the eyepiece, and what you can see in your monitor is magnified 3 times. There's a dioptic adjuster on here, so if you wear spectacles you can adjust this so you can use the eye cup without your spectacles, and I find that really helpful because, as you know, I wear spectacles. So that's a loop, and I find that really helpful for in-field monitoring of what you've taken. It's always very helpful to know that you've captured the image that you'd hope to capture before you leave the scene, isn't it? Rather than get home and check your images then and find, well, it's not quite right, I need to go back. I always carry a notebook. I like to jot down, this is a new notebook so there's not much in it, but I like to jot down a little sketch of the image that I'm hoping to capture, make some notes about the settings, and draw some images about where the sun will rise and where the sun will set, so that it will inform my planning. I did do a little video on the use of a DEPC card, which is something I use with this sketchbook. I'll just show you that again now. I find the DEPC card an invaluable tool. This is it. If you want to know how to use it, please do check out my video, which is available on YouTube right now. So this is the DEPC card, and I use this along with the compass, and the findings of this I jot down in my notebook, and that is really, really helpful. Goes without saying, spare batteries of course, essential when you're out on the field. Always make sure you charge your spare battery, as well as the battery in your camera. And then I've got an abundance of lens cloths. The cream ones are the lens cloths. These ones I tend to use just for wiping, so if it gets a bit drizzly, anything gets a bit damp, they're kind of microfiber towels, and I'll just use them to wipe down the camera or a lens. Grand. And then of course, not forgetting one of the most important things, is the tripod I'm using. This is a Manfrotto tripod. It's a carbon fibre tripod, just really to cut down some of the weight when I'm going up the fells or going out with the mega heavy photography bag. But because my camera gear is quite heavy, I have to have a heavy head. So this is the Gitos head. It's a pan and tilt head, and it's lovely to work with. And so yeah, that's the tripod I'm working with. So we've almost finished. Seen the tripod, and you've seen the lenses. Talked about cleaning cloths, knee pads. Often I'm down low on the ground, and a set of knee pads really do make the whole process a lot more comfortable. So yeah, don't forget to take knee pads with you. I've got some coral filters as well, they just popped into there. And then I think we're almost done. But what I would show you, just a couple of things in the back here. A sit mat. A sit mat, you might think, well, this is just a sit mat. But actually I find it really, really helpful for just a quick fix in sheltering the lens from the sun. So if I'm taking a quick photograph and the sun pops out, I literally, without having to fit the lens hood and make sure it's all in place and the filters are right in place, I literally hold up the sit mat in the direction the light source is coming from, and that tends to do the job. And it's a much cheaper option as well, really. And then the other thing I have in here is a small ground sheet, because invariably often when you turn up on the scene, the ground is wet. I'll lay this out, it gives me a dry surface from which to work, which is really essential. And of course, if the showers do start again, you can wrap the excess ground sheet over the camera bag just to temporarily keep it nice and dry. So that's it, that's what's in my camera bag, that's what I carry out with me, as I say, most of the time. But as I say, you know, there are times when I will leave some kit behind just to keep some of the weight down and be more efficient. So yeah, that's what's in the bag. So that's it, that's what I'm using at the moment. I hope you found that helpful. If you've got any questions, do contact me on my web address, which you'll see at the foot of the screen now. And hopefully we'll all be out taking photographs and enjoying our photography shortly. In the meantime, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.